And I'm always trying to get more reading in because it makes me feel so smart. So I'm listening to a lot of titles right now, and I'm doing that with Audible.
I am about to embark on a journey with the audio title The Plot by Jean Hanff Corlitz, and I'm really excited that Audible is there to help me.
As an Audible member, you can choose one title a month to keep from their entire catalog, including the latest bestsellers and new releases. There are thousands of titles. Try Audible free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/crappens or text crappens to 500-500. That's audible.com/crappens or text crappens to 500-500.
I'm Anna.
And I'm Emily, and we're the hosts of Terribly Famous, a new podcast from Wondery.
From Adele to Victoria Beckham and Lily Allen, we take you inside the drama-filled lives of our most talked-about celebrities to find out what it's like to walk in their shoes.
She means their beautiful Prada shoes.
Listen to Terribly Famous wherever you get your podcasts.
Happens when there's so much that happens. Watch what happens. Who cares what happens when there's so much that happens?
Hello, welcome to What Crappens, the podcast for all that crap we love to talk about on ye old bruvs. I'm Ronnie. Guess who I'm with? His name is Ben. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Ronnie. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing today, my little Banooni Bonatooni? How's that tsunami that's on its way to Los Angeles? Let's do a check-in.
You know what? It's great. There's a hurricane that's brewing. That's outside my window, right there. You could. I just saw a raindrop that on camera. So there's another one.
I saw a raindrop.
Saw one.
It's here.
Yeah, the hurricane is here. We're recording this on Sunday, actually, because we fear that I won't have power on Monday because, LA can't deal with things like rain and basically just rain. So, like, the moment it starts to rain heavily, like, the entire city just goes to shit. And, like, I know that's the old cliche, like, oh, people in LA, like, the moment it rains, everyone goes crazy. But it's true. We all go crazy, including me. I'm a native East Coaster, but I spent like an hour last night, like doing all sorts of things here in this house, getting it ready in case there was like flooding. I had to like put like tape on. There's like one area I've got this like door frame that's like rotting and it's like letting, I had to put like special tape on it so water wouldn't get through it. And it's a whole thing. Like I'm really acting like it's end of days over here. And so far it's just kind of like a nice rain.
But also it could be end of days. Like we just don't know, so that's what we're going to hope to find out by the end of this recap. Ben could not be here anymore. We have no idea.
I really thought that the lights just went out because one of my lights here just went out. And I was like, oh my God, it's happening, a blackout. But then I realized I was still connected. It was just...
Yeah, from where I sit, I was like, wow, he's really trying to make this storm work. He's like turning it into Blair Witch over there. He's just like facing a corner with one tiny little light.
No, I forgot to plug my lights into a power source, so they were on their battery, and so one just died. I was like, it's happening. The power's going away.
Tsunamis do. They take your brain. So everybody, welcome to the show. Today is Real Housewives of Atlanta. Already this week, we did a nice long Real Housewives of New York, so go check that out if you haven't yet. Also, tonight, Monday night, is Take a Seat. No, it is Crappie Hour, our new Instagram live show where we talk to you, you talk to us, we talk about topics. I have a feeling this week we're going to be doing a little talking about this Bethany Frankel three-part podcast. Biggest podcast in the world. Biggest fucking podcast in the world. Worldwide. Number one
worldwide. Number one. Most people want to hear about me. So
we'll be doing that.
Yeah, she did a three-part. Are you listening to the whole thing? Did you listen to the whole thing?
No, I'm not listening to that.
I can't.
Hell no. I'm not listening to it. It's full of lies, and it's full of just Bethany's agenda. And Bethany's agenda. I'm tired of her agenda. I'm tired of her. She needs to shut up. And I can't wait to make fun of it. Now, here's what I am going to do. I'm going to go take screenshots from Reddit, because Reddit, people
send those to me.
They listen so you don't have to. Those kind of recaps. One is called Vanderpump Pods, I think. Vanderpod.
Either way, I listened to the first.
I
like 35 to 45 minutes of it. I don't remember how long, and it's really one of the most ridiculous moronic things I've ever listened to. I can't wait to talk about it.
Okay, good. Well, so I'll listen to some too, but we'll probably spend most of our time talking about that. So that is Monday night, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. We'll see you there on Instagram. We're at Watch What Crappens. Also follow us individually, Ronnie Karam, Ben Mandelker. And also, Salt Lake City trailer breakdown was a free bonus last week. Check that out. And our Welcome to Crappie Lake was our Patreon bonus. So if you want these videos, bonus episodes, sign up at Patreon. Thanks for the support over there. And hi to YouTube, because all of these are video recaps now. So let's get to it, shall we? Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 15, Episode 15. And the episode is the penultimate.
Yes, the season finale is approaching. And so this one starts off with Cynthia saying, "Guess who's officially single?" And Kenya's like, "Oh, is your divorce final?" And then they hug. And Cynthia's pretty much saying what all of America's saying, which is, "Come on, Kenya, step it up." She goes, "I've been married and divorced while you're still getting divorced. So I basically had 3 seasons worth of content during your divorce. So let's hurry up."
Yeah, she really has. And then we go to Sheree's place, and she's with her little grandbaby Mecca, and she's talking about how to decorate the nursery, and she's like, "Anything but clowns. Clowns give me nightmares."
Well, because Alina, Cairo's wife or girlfriend or whatever, she says, "What about clouds?" She goes, "Clowns?" She goes, "No, clouds." She goes, "Oh, I thought you said clowns." I love the idea for a moment. Sheree thought Alina was like, "How about we just cover this entire nursery with clowns everywhere?"
People do. People will still do that for kids. It's terrifying. They're like, "Oh my God, kids love clowns." Kids do not love clowns. And any clown out there, by the way, is like, "I'm so offended. I went to clown college." You know kids don't like you and you terrify them, and that's part of what you're getting off on. And don't lie about it. That you didn't purposely chose to be you purposely chose to be a clown because you knew it would trigger at least 60% of children. And you get excited by that sort of thing. You're a psychopath. Just think deep down inside of yourself why you're doing what you're doing. Realize that you're wrong. And repent, for fuck's sake, clowns. I don't want to hear it from you anymore. I'm sick of the Clown Association bitching to me about their issues and their trauma, okay? You brought this on yourself.
I don't know a single person who likes clowns. I'm not scared of clowns. I just don't like them. I don't see their value. I don't see why they're funny. I don't think that they're interesting. I don't see what they contribute. I don't think we need clowns.
Other than being able to fit a lot of people in a tiny car, which I do appreciate, I feel like that's both good for the earth and also just like, general gas spending. Like, gas is so expensive. It would be nice if everybody could just jump in one car, Otherwise, don't really love it. Don't love, as a Lebanese person, do not love honking noses. I feel like that's generally offensive.
Also, like Ronald McDonald. Like, you're probably one of the least offensive clowns, but even I think it's time for Ronald McDonald just to be Ronald. I don't think we need to see a clown version. Although I do feel like if you take Ronald McDonald's face makeup off, it'll look like Timothy Hutton or something, and it'll be like, I feel like I want classic Ronald McDonald back. I think he's like the one clown who's allowed to stay.
Only because he has hamburgers, though. Only because he serves like quintessential American crap food to us. That's the only reason and because he has like the cancer center and stuff. Like like he does good. See, that's clowns. That's what you need to do. Okay, stop terrifying children. Stop giving them early onset obesity and diabetes too, and make an effort towards the cancer. The race to cure cancer. That's what I need from clowns. I need less of this like honk your nose. They're depressed middle-aged people who don't even try to look happy. They literally paint on a smile and just walk around and are mean to people, but they're wearing bright colors and wigs, and so people are okay with it. I will not have it anymore. I've had it.
I think the thing is that
I've had it. Like that podcast. That's it. We're going to compete with those clowns. 2 ladies. Our new podcast is called
I'm Through With It.
Crappens has had it.
But I think that Ronald McDonald, I think that he gets a pass also because he looks vaguely unclowny. Like, he basically just has clown makeup on, but his hair is definitely like a bright shock of red, but it's not like a rainbow hue. It's like you could imagine someone dyeing their hair that color, and like his outfit is is clowny, but like you could go to Silver Lake and someone's probably wearing that to the farmer's market. So like he just kind of is a guy who just has crazy makeup on, and then you're like, is it makeup, or maybe he was like born like that, and then we shouldn't be passing judgment, and that's just like his face, and we should just treat Ronald like any normal person, you know?
No, I don't. I would trip him if I saw him at school. I would trip him. Okay, so until I found out he would give me French fries and toys, then I would pick him back up, carry him on my shoulders if I had strength, which I don't, because all I ate was McDonald's. So it's a vicious circle. Okay, so Sharon is Sharon, the therapist, is talking to Marlo. And she's like, so your sons are meeting new people. And, they're definitely going to be territorial when they meet Scott Lee. So just be prepared. And Marlo's like, but when do you know it's okay to introduce the kids to Scott Lee?
And the therapist is like, honestly, I don't know. I'm just a life coach. This is beyond my pay grade. So
yeah, she's a life coach, right? Why did it say Sharon therapist? Or maybe did I just make that up and give her that title?
No, it said therapist, and I thought the same thing. Maybe she finally got her degree. Who knows?
I think psychiatrist, you have to have a degree, but therapist, you don't. Is that right?
I'm
Is
not
it like
sure.
Massage therapist? Isn't there a therapist? Let's see.
I'm not sure, but I think if you want to be a life coach, you literally just have to like wake up and decide it. Like your qualifications are like filling out a form. So
let me see. Mental health counseling, 60 credit program, no GRE required. What's a GRE?
GRE is the exam you take after college to go to grad school. GED is what you take for high school, right? Like to finish your diploma in high school is GED, I believe. So GRE, like if you want to go to business school, I believe you take the GREs, or it's like the thing that gets you into graduate school.
So you need a degree to be a therapist, but do you have to have one to be a counselor? I don't know. Who knows? Okay. So no one cares. So the pass shoot day one. Dun, 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 the pass. So Kandi's in hair and makeup, and Drew comes in to say hi. She's about to get dressed, and Todd's like, wow, Drew, everyone's saying that you're killing it. And he tells us, I'm doing this movie in 12 days, and I can do that because Drew is a real actress. Like I don't have to do everything with 14 takes. She gets it. She gets it.
She's real Meryl Streep over there.
Yeah, real
really,
perfectionist.
Really
Steven
helping.
Spielberg. Yeah,
I know. And then he tells her, okay, I'm going to tell you what I see because I have a vision for it. Okay, you're lying on your back. She's topless. The G-string is like, we see the G-string, and then we like do a top pan down, and then you're making the faces, and then you're grabbing the sheets, da-da-da-da-da, orgasm, yada, yada, yada. Boobs to the left, boobs to the right, lesbian, eating the box, blah, 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 blah. And then we get down there, and then she comes back up, she looks at you, and then we're out and scene. I'm like, wow, great work there, Hitchcock.
That's literally the only directing we see Fellini do this entire episode is the lesbian sex part. And what was I going to say? Oh, and he's also making her shoot this the first day. Like, why are you doing the huge sex scene the first thing? Like, can you give the woman a minute?
I have heard actually that directors do that. So that way, you just get it out of the way, and it's not this thing that's like looming on the schedule. So that's what I've heard. And, Todd is anything. It's anything if not professional.
If Todd's anything, it's one of the directors you've heard multiple things about because lots of stories coming out of there. God, that was so good. Okay, so Ross and
Sonia are going to the doctor with Deuce, going to the OBGYN. And if you're in Atlanta and you're going to the OBGYN, there's only one person you're really seeing. It's Dr. Jackie.
Jackie.
Yeah. So they go see Dr. Jackie, and Sonia's saying that she, a lot of people said don't tell your kid that you're pregnant until you're further along, but she's kind of like, it's like I don't want to keep him in the loop. He is the loop. He is the loop. I have to tell him he's the loop. So Dr. Jackie comes out, and it's like a very standard Dr. Jackie, you're pregnant scene, which talks about tests and pregnancy.
And she tells them that they're a geriatric pregnancy. And they're like, oh, don't say that. Which I love being people being told that. I just think it's the funniest term. Like, congrats, you have a geriatric pregnancy. You know, I'm just like, you're pregnant with Jessica Fletcher. You know, she's just, your baby is in your womb, just riding a bicycle around Cabot Cove, trying to solve murders that her neighbors were blamed for.
Yeah. So Sonya's like, she's excited. She gets to find out if she has a boy or a girl in 10 weeks, which makes me wonder, are we going to have a gender reveal in the season finale? Because I really am not looking forward to that, but I think probably not. And then she says that, Sonya goes, she's like, my dream is that Deuce and his sister can have a relationship like Sheree and I. I'm like, well, you do know your entire season has been about how terrible your relationship with you and Sheree has been, right?
You're like, I hope that this baby hates my son as much as Sheree hates me. It's going to be amazing. So then we go over to the past, shoot day 4. And let's see, Drew is talking to, I don't know, who cares? So Kandi's there, and Todd's like, Todd's a Leo. Kandi's saying Todd's a Leo, and he likes to control everything, but she's a team player, so she's learned to let Todd have his way, unless she has very strong feelings. And he's like, yeah, and the key to this whole thing, it's like my man Tyler Perry does. We're using a lot of things that we already own. We're shooting it at my house, and we're saving a lot on location fees. You won't even shoot Real Housewives of Atlanta in your own home, barely. I cannot believe you're letting your crew in here and comparing yourself to Tyler Perry.
I'm like, congratulations, you're doing what every single film student in the history of film students has ever done. Filming in the hallways of their dorms and their bedrooms. It's like, you know what? It reminds me of when I was in 9th grade. I had a camcorder. I was like, I always wanted like a video camera, and like my parents gave it to me, and I would make these stupid little videos. And it was always like in scene one, we're at this person's house, and I was like filming the living room from like this angle. And then, okay, now scene 2, we're at the post office, and you like turn around, and it's just like the same room, but just shot from the other angle. And you just are like, yeah, we're in a totally different location right now. And there is a piano in the post office, but that's okay. It's a fancy post office.
It's like porn.
Basically.
They're like, welcome to the doctor's office. It's like, why are there Barca loungers?
It's always like that.
So, let's see. So Todd's like, yeah, I'm Tyler Perry. So he's like, okay, so now let's get to the sex scene. And Kandi's like, well, I wouldn't be surprised if you wanted to start acting now. And so Mignetta comes dressed as her character, because of course, this costs $20.
And there's no wardrobe department apparently, so she has to arrive in costume from her own wardrobe. So she shows up, and then Drew is asking for guidance for the sex scene or whatever. And by the way, Drew is sitting under a Nest thermostat, and it's 79 degrees in there. I was like, of course, Todd won't even put on the air conditioning. I mean, I know like when you're filming, you don't want the air conditioning on, but like, come on, in between shots, you can do it.
You don't want it to be 79 degrees either with all those people in your house. Oh my God. So Drew's like, wow, it's crazy. Like I came to my trailer and I was like, wow, this is a real movie. I have a trailer in a house at a house. And Kandi's like, it's real. She goes, yeah, well, when we need to get to that sex scene, I might need some support because I'm a little nervous about the sex scene. And Kandi's like, we have one of those intimacy counselors coming for you, so you don't have to worry about that.
Drew's like, oh my God, you guys thought of everything. It's like, well, it's a pretty standard practice on a movie set.
I mean, I just need to make sure she really gets me. Does she know I'm from Chicago? I think that's pretty important for her to know.
Does she know that my sister wrote for Amen? I think that'll be very important for the intimacy.
So she's telling us what was on paper. There's a simulated sex scene with a woman. And she's like, I mean, I've had make-out scenes and intimate scenes with a man, but this is my first sex scene, and it's my first sex scene with a woman, so it's a lot of firsts.
I'm just going to have to really dig deep to find those moments of like being in love with this woman, to find those connections. Drew is in like her actor lane right now, and it is hilarious when every time they cut to her this episode, she is literally acting like she's in, inside the actor studio. She's like, so for this lesbian scene that I'm shooting in this $5 movie, I really had to dig deep and find out, what does a lesbian think about when they get into a bed, It's really challenging.
And Candy's like, so how does Ralph feel about this sex scene? And she's like, well, I mean, I gave him an overview. I just told him what he needed to know. I mean, he doesn't tell me everything about his job. So nobody knows what Ralph does still. I don't think.
No one knows.
We still don't know. And they even had a fight about his job a couple weeks ago with Marlo.
Yeah.
There was actually a confrontation about his job, and we still don't know. All I know is that he has a giant poster of himself about a book that's just 5 pages of the same thing over and over, printed on Amazon and never fixed.
Exactly. So now it's time to shoot another scene, and Kandi tells Todd. So, by the way, when we went to that like supposedly peaceful, mindful event that Drew did, like, what happened was that Courtney called Drew a bitch, and so Drew comes in. She joins in a robe, and they basically start talking about Courtney and everything. And Candy's like, "Yeah, well, by the way, we're just like laughing about your cousin." And Drew's like, "Oh, you mean Courtney? She's just Courtney now. She's not my cousin anymore."
And she's like, well, I mean, I haven't seen this tape that everybody's been talking about. And Moneta's like, I have it. Let's watch it. So they turn it on, and they show the clip again of Courtney pointing at Sonia and going, this bitch even questioned me. I mean, this bitch even questioned me, and pointing at Sonia saying it. So it looks like to me that she's talking about Sonia casually.
Clearly.
Right?
It's clearly not about Drew. And even Kandi looks at it and goes, oh, well, was she talking about Drew or was she talking about Sonia? And Moneta's like, oh, well, you think she's going to call Sonia a bitch to her face? And Candy's like, but she pointed at her.
And
like, why would anyone?
Not meanly. I mean,
yeah. And why is Moneta shocked that anyone on this cast would say bitch to anyone's face?
I love on Housewives shows when they're like, bitch. How dare you call a woman a bitch? Whenever someone's like, bitch, please. Like, oh, you said bitch about a woman. How dare you? Like, you're on Housewives. Are you kidding? This is the house that bitch was built on. Come on.
Exactly. But now Drew is committed to being angry at Courtney, disowning her as a cousin, which is hilarious because she was barely a cousin in the first place. They only became cousins at the beginning of the season. So Drew is like, I definitely have to have a conversation with her because she went hard, okay? And if I'm the topic of conversation and then the next word that comes out is this bitch, then you're definitely talking about me. No. That logic does not stand.
Candy's like, I don't know who she was calling a bitch, but she did call somebody a bitch, and she told us she never uses the word bitch. So the footage is there, bitch. You know?
Yeah, it's a lie, bitch.
Oh,
bitch.
Yeah. It's time for a commercial. It's time for a crap.
Hi, I'm Lindsey Graham, the host of Wondery's podcast, American Scandal. We bring to life some of the biggest controversies in U.S. history, events that have shaped who we are as a country and that continue to define the American experience. American Scandal tells marquee stories about American politics, like the break-in at the Watergate Hotel, an event that led to the downfall of a president and raised questions about the future of American democracy. We go behind the scenes looking at devastating financial crimes, like the fraud committed at Enron and Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme. And we tell stories of complicated public figures like Edward Snowden and Monica Lewinsky, people who found themselves thrust into the spotlight and who spurred debates about the future of the country. Follow American Scandal wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen ad-free on the Amazon Music or Wondery app.
Commercial. So Sheree's house, this guy, Lance, is the party planner, and he comes like he has seen season 1 Atlanta. He looks appropriately terrified of Sheree. Okay. Mm-hmm. He's got hair like a tsunami coming in on a tiny village. It's like just surrounding. It's like a football tsunami. It's like a football shaped wall going above his head. And he's like, hi, we're going to do a great job. And I just want to assure you, I brought the Balloon King himself. Balloon King, shake your hands. Spirit fingers.
Balloon King is there.
King. You're embarrassing me. We're here for you, Sheree.
Balloon King is wearing a mask, but I don't think it's a COVID precaution. I think that he just needs to keep his anonymity. Otherwise, he'd be just be attacked in the streets with all his adoring fans. So
don't ever show Balloon King's face.
Don't look Balloon King in the eyes.
So he's like, okay, so I want to hear what you have envisioned for this. Now, I know that we want it to be fabulous, right, everybody? Right? And she's like, okay, well, I want over the top and beautiful because most of my friends haven't seen the baby. So, like a sip and see, and I want my friends to dress nude. He's like, a nude party for a baby. Okay, sounds good. No, they won't be nude, but I want them to be dressed in the color nude. He's like, okay. He goes, okay, that's appropriate. Is it?
Oh, I guess maybe it's like your natural self. It's a baby. And so then she goes,
No,
I
these
wish
are a
we
bunch
could
of old people, okay? I do not like I don't like the idea of everybody dressed nude, and then every time you look around, you're like, oh, they're naked. Oh, God, they're not naked. God, why do I always fall for that? Oh, they're naked. Oh, God, they're not naked either. I fall for that every single time.
It's hard. Well, that's why you have the Balloon King there to provide distraction. So Sheree is like, I just wish we could have things floating from the ceiling, like bears or pictures of Mecca, a shrine to Mecca, but also bears. Can we have bears hanging from the ceiling? And I know she meant teddy bears, but I also just thought like the idea of like just giant dangling bear carcasses would be funny too. And when you said that this guy was like scared of Sheree, or was like you said he was like season one when scared of Sheree. It's true because also in season one was when people believed that Sheree would pay for things because he is putting together a big list of things for this party, and I'm like, she's never going to pay you for any of this, anything.
But he's also very like non-committal on what he's going to give. He's very smart. He goes, okay, so what I'm hearing. Boho, glam, bears, balloons, fabulousness. So he's already got his own thing. Boho, which means kind of casual Hollywood, right? Bohemian Hollywood. So he can get away with some casual shit there and a lot of creams. And bears, which are easy. And balloons, obviously, he's got Balloon King. Don't show his face.
Balloon
Don't
King.
look at him. And then just general
Don't
fabulousness.
mention his name.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I'm like, well, good luck to you, Lance, because honestly, the track record for party planners on Real Housewives of Atlanta has not been great. So now we go to the pass, shoot day 5, and it's time for the sex scene. And we're watching Drew on the monitors, and she's really in it. She's like, she's like really like she's in character, and she tells us she gets back into her behind the scenes DVD extras moment where she's like, it's not come easy having to connect to a woman on screen, and I'm not naturally attracted to women, so I have to rely on the senses, the Uta Hagen senses, the smell, the seeing, the hearing, the tasting. Uta actually called me up. I don't know if she's dead or alive, but she called me. She said, Drew, this is a challenging scene, but you have to do it. So this is really me channeling Uta through this scene. Thank you. Thank you so much.
She said, Drew, please don't refer to me as Uta for this scene. Refer to me as Ida. Cut to Drew just like getting eaten out like hardcore. She's like, ah! Just the intercuts between, God, what Uta Hagen taught me. Oh, yeah, fuck me. Uta teaching me to just listen. Yeah, give it to me up the ass. Listen and really be in the scene. Oh my God, fuck my ear off. You're fucking my goddamn ear off. Thank you, Uta. Thank you for everything you've given me. Signed, the artist.
Signed, your vessel.
So Drew's like, yeah, there were a lot of and of Todd, that fucking perv. So they're looking through the monitor. They're watching this really intense sex scene, okay? I mean, look, I'm not even a prude about sex scenes. I love a movie with the sex scene, okay? I'm not saying keep sex scenes out of movie. I think for $5, when a movie is like $5, I don't need to be doing a sex scene in your bed for free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like you're not paying it. You're getting off on it in a weird. Todd's creepy.
Yeah,
Todd's
that's the thing.
creep.
You feel like you're living out Todd's fantasy in his bed, and that's strange.
It's just fucking creepy. It's gross. And then Todd's like, "Oh no, she just slid out of the frame. Oh geez, guess you're gonna have to do another take, Todd. Like the only thing that you're gonna require another take for, you fucking perv."
Right. So now we pivot entirely over to Foster Care Fridays because Marlo is having an event. She walks in with like a huge amount of fringe. Like she just big fringe energy. And it's a function to honor foster children or people who were stars who came out of the foster system, people who found success, I should say. And so Marlo's talking about how she wants to give hope to foster children and show them that foster care won't stop them from getting what they want in life, that the world is still there. So it's actually a very nice event.
So then Scottley comes and let's see. So Sonia comes. A bunch of people are coming to support, and Sheree finally shows up because they were worried she wasn't going to come. But she does, and she's like, I just have so many people at my house working, but I made it, girls, since they take a picture. And Sonia's like, it was going to be your ass, bitch. So then everybody starts getting ready for the party. Kenya's getting her makeup done and calling Kandi to see what to wear. And then we go to the party setup and see the Balloon Master's work. Pretty good, I have to say, Balloon Master.
He lived up to it. I have to say, honestly, like Balloon King and Lance, they kind of pulled it off. This is probably one of the very best parties I feel like I've ever seen on this show.
It was very good. And it's hard to do a party in a place with such high ceilings like that. And Balloon King really went to the top. I mean, that was a lot of balloons, Balloon King. Okay.
He really created a lot of verticality with those balloons. I mean, it was honestly like really amazing. I mean, we've seen some really crappy parties on the show where someone just hangs a bunch of kind of like white gauzy fabric around the sides of a room, Cynthia Bailey's wedding, and then calls it a day. But this one was just like there was flowers, there were balloons, there was everything. It was gorgeous.
So the producer asked Sheree, is this your party for you or your party for Mecca? And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. It's for both of us because I'm a Glamma. And then Marlo can't make it. So Marlo was just making a big deal at her scene. She's like, if Sheree doesn't make it, it's really going to hurt my feelings. I can't believe Sheree's not going to come here. That is really going to hurt me. And Sheree comes. And then the very next scene, it's like, oh, Marlo couldn't make it.
Yeah.
But she had a good reason because
she had a funeral. She had a funeral to go to, so she went there. Yeah. So then Lance goes to check in on Sheree while she was in Glam.
I forgot that part. I was about to get so mad at Marlo. I'm like, what a hypocrite. Oh, her friend's grandmother died. You know what? Let's not get into it.
It was a funeral. She needed to be there for a funeral. I'm okay with it. So Lance goes to check in on Sheree while she's in Glam, and he goes, okay, so 10 minutes to actual champagne service, and the harpist has landed. The harpist has landed, which I just love the gravitas that he brings. Like there was not an ounce of irony or humor in that. Like this is like, you know that this was all week long. He's like, we just have to make sure we got to get that harpist in. We got to get that harpist has a small entry. We need to make sure the harpist lands without a problem. Harpist has landed.
Also because it's kind of a reference back to season 1 because she wanted to be flown in on a helicopter, right? Like a poet.
Yep. With like also like a giant portrait and a poet. Yeah.
So the cake is there. They've got, and Sheree's like, oh, how much is this? 200 a plate now? 200? We're at 200 a plate? I'm never paying you for. Never gonna pay for this.
Good luck, Lance. Good luck landing. The harpist has landed. I don't know if your paycheck will.
Well, earlier she kind of tricked him because he goes, so what's our budget for this? And she's like, well, there's a budget, but there's not a budget. Do you know what I mean? There's no budget here. There's no budget. And so he's like, great. And he goes, I'm going to give you everything. I'm like, no, she is going to say later, I told you I had no budget. So
there's no money. No budget means no money.
I said there's no budget. I didn't say no limit.
Yep. So now we go back to the past, shoot day 6. And so Drew is sitting in a trailer with her on-set assistant. And she's talking about how she has 10 scenes to shoot today, which is honestly crazy. And Drew's saying, I'm side-eyeing this whole situation because it's a little odd. I mean, I'm in Kandi's house. I'm in her bed, in her bathroom, at her personal space. It's just kind of weird. And then she's saying how she now has to do 10 scenes. And she's like, I've never done anything like this. Like, next time, if it's not Lifetime and above, I'm not interested.
I thought that was so funny. Drew, like, she's trying to be such a badass. She's like, listen, if it's not Lifetime or above, I'm out. Is this union? I'm confused about this whole.
I would not imagine that this is you. I cannot imagine.
How can she do it then? I guess you can get like a waiver or something.
Because maybe if it's an independent film, I'm not sure. I have no idea how that works. But this does not feel a union whatsoever. This is I don't know. I don't know what this is.
Her assistant's just giving her a look, and Drew's like, well, I just feel a little uncomfortable. I mean, doing this all like 10 days in her bed, and I'm uncomfortable, but I'll take the check. I'll play the role because I can be a professional. And Ralph comes in, and she's like, oh my God, Ralph, you're here.
Yeah. And so Ralph looks at the assistant, who's like a heavier guy, and goes, "Hey, you gonna be able to squeeze out of there?" Because he's like in like sitting under a desk, like at a desk, and it's like so rude.
He's
Because
such
he's
an
just saying like,
asshole.
"Get out of here," and second of all, he's saying it in a way that's kind of like very body shaming.
Yeah, he's
What a
such an
dick.
asshole. And the guy's laughing, and then they hug. And Drew's like, "Can you run lines with me? I just haven't seen you." And then like last night when I got home, and then I got up and you were gone. He goes, "Ain't no one up at 3 a.m. but the streetwalkers, right?"
So Drew says, she's been loving this character. She goes, I've been finding moments of truth inside me to connect with Nina. And like sometimes I'm like, this is really close to who I am. I mean, she's like a wife, she's submissive, she's insanely talented. She's lost 30 pounds by using Drop It with Drew. I really connect with her now.
She lost 18 pounds in 2 hours. I mean, really amazing stuff. She took before and after pictures for the site. And Ralph's like, "And a lesbian? And a lesbian?" She's like, "What the hell?" He's like, "That's what she is, though." And he tells us, "I respect my wife as a thespian, but I have to pick up the slack at the house." Oh, fucking God forbid, Ralph, you walk around the giant poster of yourself to give your kid a juice box. Give me a fucking break.
Seriously. So Drew says, well, I mean, she's a lesbian, but that's the backdrop for her character, and that's all you care about. Like, all you care about is, oh, did you kiss her yet? Did you kiss her? And Ralph goes, yeah, well, people got questions, including myself. Did you kiss her? She goes, he goes, yeah, so you gave her some tongue? You gave her tongue?
And she's like, how would you feel if I said I did? I mean, this is work, Ralph. This is work. And it's like, so she seduced you. How'd that happen, huh? She's like, well, her character is supposed to seduce me. So she was a little more aggressive. And he's like, oh, what? And you're like damsel in distress. Like, well, can't make lunch for the kids. Blah. And she's like, I'm like, I haven't done it before. Oh my God, look at you smiling. I've never seen all your teeth before. Gross. He's just leching out and being disgusting, which is not surprising at all, but he just gets grosser.
The previews made it look like he was actually upset that she was having shooting lesbian sex scenes, but actually in reality he was perving out on it, and that was turning her off. So Ralph's like, well, I just want to see it. I just like really want to watch. And so Drew says, I'm really creeped out because it was girl on girl that and he's being extra Ralph, and he thinks it's all fun and games. Like he's ready to kick it up, like turn it up. He makes his jokes, and I just really wish he would respect and take seriously what I do as an actress who will settle for nothing less than Lifetime.
She was munching on your choach, eh? Was she munching on your choach? She's like, Jesus, Ralph, did you have an orgasm? Did you have an orgasm? And she's like, I really don't like this. And he's, come on, in the movie, just in the movie. And she's like, this is the first time you've ever asked me about anything since I started shooting this. I'm really happy you weren't on the set. Dun, dun, dun. Ralph doesn't respect Drew. What a shock.
I know.
Absolutely shocked. So glad she's out of there. What a dick. So Sheree's party. So Sonia and Kandi come in. It's basically party gathering, right? And Sonia's like, oh, I didn't see you yesterday at Marlo's foster party thing, Kandi. And Candy's like, I was shooting a movie. And Sonia's like, I don't want to hear it. Are you in the movie? And she's like, yeah, actually. But
she's like, oh, okay. So then Cynthia arrives, Bob Whitfield arrives, and Candy's telling Cynthia and Sonia that Drew had to do sex scenes in her own bed. And Candy's basically saying, like, no, I understand that Todd wants to keep the budget down, but, like, in her own bed? I don't know about that.
Yeah. So then Kandi says to somebody, she's like, oh, yeah, this thing started at 4, but I'm not going to come then because I know no one would be here because everybody's, like, coming 2 hours late or whatever.
Yeah. So then Courtney comes in. Courtney comes in and Candy's like, oh my God, it's so weird to see you without a hat. I was like, is something wrong with her hair? And they show that Courtney actually always shows up in a hat. And then everyone's just like waiting for Sheree to make her appearance. And so Shamia arrives, Moneta arrives. I mean, it's cool that Atlanta has actually this like very deep roster of friends ofs that they've accumulated over the years. But what happens is that we now sit through 10 minutes of people walking into parties now.
Yeah. So then Kenya arrives, and the minute she opens the door, it goes, it's because it's the season of Real Housewives of Atlanta, and that's all they got. They're like, hey, We'll just put in the tss so people think something happened. So they give her that, and then the lady with the name list is like, so what's your name? And she goes, Kenya Moore, and you should know who I am.
And then Courtney's like talking to Shamia, and Shamia's like, "Oh, how old's your daughter? How's your daughter doing? Whatever." And Candy's like, "Finally, someone knows Courtney because no one else knows her." And Shamia's just asking Courtney how it's been hanging out with the girls, aka being on the show. And Courtney's like, "It's been interesting." And then you know who I feel bad for? Kenya's friend that she's been trying to make happen this season. I forgot her name. She had a few scenes earlier on the season, and now she just doesn't even get a chyron anymore. She just walks in with Kenya. She's there. They even talk to her a little bit, and they just don't even say what her name is. I forgot her name.
She's a dud, that lady. So Candy's like, so you gave me a whole speech about wearing nude, and then your friend comes in baby blue. What the hell? Kenya's friend. So then Sheree finally comes down, and she doesn't say hi to anybody. She just like gets pictures taken in front of all the balloons. And then so she sees Bob, and she's like, Bob Whitfield, why are you trying to match me? Because they're wearing the same color.
Exactly. And she talks about how she felt like a single mom, even though she was married to Bob at the time, because he was always, playing football / cheating on her. And but Bob has been very involved in Mecca's life, and it's his first grandbaby, so he's really happy about it. And then here comes Martell. Martell is arriving now. And Martell walks up to Sheree, and they take a photo together, and she's smiling, and like through her gritted teeth smile, she's like, what took you so long? And he goes, and he's also gritted teeth smiling. He's like, 5 kids. So they already are fighting, basically.
He's like, I got 5 kids. So then Drew drives up, and she makes a call to Kandi. And she's like, I'm outside, and I'm not going to come in. There's a man here that literally assaulted me. Candy's like, what? Oh, shit. And then she's like, oh, that assistant? I forgot. Because then it's commercial, I think, right? So we're like, oh, my God, who assaulted Drew? So then we get to 5:45. And Candy's like, oh, the assistant? I forgot about that whole thing. She goes, yeah. When I pulled up, I saw Anthony walk in the door. God is watching over me. And because if I had been a second later, I would have walked into this trap.
And then they cut to footage of Anthony just like mincing around the party. He's just like in a t-shirt and shorts with like a bag around him. And he's like ready to have his like comeback scene. So he's just going around the party and hoping someone recognizes him. Although he now has a different hairstyle and everything. So he looks totally different. And Drew's like, yeah, he threw a shoe at me. all the low rent scandals around Drew, like she's being sued for $1,000. Someone threw a shoe at her. I mean, it's kind of amazing.
It's time for a commercial. It's time for a Crappins commercial.
So Kandi comes outside, and Drew's like, I'm just so tired. I'm trying to build a friendship with Sheree, but this is hurtful that you would do it. And so she tells us a story. She's like, I was at a lounge asking for chamomile tea with a bit of honey to rest my voice, as Uda suggested. And as I drank the honey, I realized Nina loves honey. And I just felt so compatible with Nina at that moment, like we were one with the things. And then walks Anthony, and I had my shoes on a little VIP couch. Or should I say, Nina had her shoes on a little VIP couch. And he literally took Nina's shoe and threw it at me. I didn't even know who he was. It wasn't until I came back to myself, I wrote a letter to Nina and said, Nina, when you come back, please tell me who that gay was who threw your shoe at my face.
So Drew is like, she's like, I'm just confused. Why would Sheree have him here? And the producer says, was it 1 or 2 of your shoes that he threw? And she goes, 1. And what type of shoes were you wearing? She goes, probably Louboutins. I mean, I could have lost an eye with all those spikes. So now Drew doesn't feel safe.
You can't pay for the lady to nanny your kids for 2 days. You were not wearing Louboutin. Okay.
Yeah. No,
Louboutin. So Drew's like, I just don't feel safe. And Candy's like, well, it's a big house. I mean, he's gonna have to have a really good throw to get a shoe all the way to you. The way over to your face in this giant house. And Drew's like, do I want to have to be looking over my shoulder to see if there's an Adidas coming at Nina's face? Nina still has a film to finish. She has a story to complete.
So she leaves. She literally leaves the party because of this. So, and then everyone's like, huh, okay. So then,
I'm
then they go
glad
back
she
inside.
did though, because fuck this guy. This guy
he
is
is a thirst
so
trap.
ready. This guy is so ready to start a big fight with Drew. He's so disgusting. Well, we'll get to him.
Yeah. But first, we see other people at the party. Quad is there. I was actually a little surprised that Kim wasn't there, given the recent reunion and everything. And Kim and Sheree have always been friends. And now, by the way, it's also been like 2.5 hours into this party, and still no one's seen Sheree. So Sonya's like, I mean, can we come to the sip and see something, please? For what's going on here? So Sheree comes downstairs. And everyone's like, ah! And everyone's like, oh my god! And Kenya's like, Miss Reveal, hi, gorgeous, ha! And lots of squealing and happiness.
So Anthony comes over and hugs Sheree and does the double kiss. And the producer's like, why did you invite Anthony? And she's like, well, Anthony made the connection between me and Martell, and me and Anthony are friends. I just happened to be out one night and he was in town. And so Anthony called and said Martell wanted to meet me, and we've been hanging out ever since. And so that's why she is still tight with Anthony, because Anthony brought her the love of her life.
Yeah. And so and Lisa Wu is there too. And then Kandi goes up to Sheree and says, by the way, Drew just left because of issues with Anthony. And like, are you still cool with Anthony? I didn't think you're still cool. And Sheree's like, yeah, I'm still cool with him. I mean, I said that at the reunion. And Anthony's like right behind Sheree and of course listening in. So he just like basically butts in and goes, I'm not worried about Drew's white ass. And so now, of course, he's gotten his moment. He's gotten his wish.
Yes. So Candy's like, come on. And Sheree's like, you said you were cool with her. And he goes, the only issue I have with that bitch is that her marriage is unsuccessful and her acting career is down the drain. It's like, oh God, can we just get rid of him, please? Like,
I know. And you're not going to win this by saying her acting career is down the drain. You're going to say that to the producer of the movie that she's currently acting in. That's not going to work out well for you.
Right. The assistant, you're literally an assistant criticizing a real housewife who's on a national television show right now, sir.
Exactly. So Candy's like, well, you had a physical altercation with her. And he goes, no, she got a reading because she owes me a coin, honey. And she owes her husband an apology, honey. I'm like, why are you taking up for Ralph of all people? This is not going to help your case.
So Candy's like, well, did you throw a shoe at her? And he says, I threw my shoes at her because she threw her cheap-ass bag at me. I was like, okay, have you looked at your waist? You've got some pleather there, sir.
So Kandi goes, you didn't try to hit her first? He goes, I don't try to hit women. Honey, I live for women. So Candy's like, I'm going to be on the side of the person who's not trying to be bullshit. And Anthony is clearly trying to start bullshit. So, no.
Yeah, this is sad. This is like sad that it's a penultimate episode. It's a huge cast party. And the only big fight you guys have is between Drew's old assistant and Drew. Come on.
I know. I know. And what's also sad is anyone who shows up to any event, because you know that Anthony is probably going to be at an event. There'll be some bar that's like, come tonight for drink specials and featuring Anthony as seen on Real Housewives of Atlanta. And there'll be like a poster of him trying to look like all fabulous. And there'll be people who will actually show up to that.
Yes, don't give him anything.
Don't do it.
So then Martell shakes hands with, he's nice. He says hi to Kenya. And Kenya's like, can we have a little conversation? He's like, oh God. She's just tiny one. And she's like, I don't want to beat you up, but I wanted to explain. I'm always going to have Sheree's back. And when things went left that night, I didn't have anyone on my side that could match your energy, so I had to. It's like, but you also kind of started.
You also started.
I mean, look, first of all, you started it, but also Martell was disgusting. And I can't believe Sheree's even dating this guy.
Let's be honest.
So Team Kenya on this one.
So Sheree tells us, she's like, oh, I didn't have a man with me. Bitch, you'll never have a man with you. You didn't bring one. So Kenny goes, so when you curse and when you raise your voice, I felt insulted when you said, oh, I bet you check all your DMs. And he goes, regardless, I apologize. And she's like, okay, I appreciate that. Now I can stop tearing you apart.
And he goes, but look, can I ask you a question? Do you feel that you were in the wrong even a little bit? She goes, well, I feel like I was defending myself, but if I offended you at all, I apologize, but I never cursed at you. And we get flashback of Martell saying, you said 6 months ago, and Kenny going, once a cheater, always a cheater, you fucking piece of shit, motherfucker, asshole, C-word, bitch.
Martell's like, well, you were about to punch me. She goes, you know. And he goes, well, I can take some. So they hug and everything is squashed. And then we see Apollo. Now Apollo's taking photos. We're really seeing a lot of greatest hits here. And then Sheree gets Mecca, and they put Mecca in this like big, beautiful carriage with like tons of flowers, like this most over the top presentation of a child. And she just like walks Mecca through the party, and Mecca's just like falling asleep because Mecca doesn't care.
Yeah,
And
they're like, she
everyone's
looks
loving
drunk because she's doing that baby thing where she's like, wow. It's like Kim Richards as a child. It's like, hey, wait, I was on which mountain? So they're all cracking up that this cute little baby is falling asleep in this giant bed of roses that she's being brought out on.
And then they do a family photo. And so Sheree's up there. The whole family is there. And Bob is there. And there's like a girl with Bob. Like, when you're watching, you're like, oh, this is obviously his girlfriend. And Candy's like, who's this girl? Like, does Bob have another daughter we don't know about? And then everyone's like, is this Bob's new girlfriend? Is this his daughter? And then we go to commercial. And I was like, wow, this is really sad that the show has to kind of like create some drama over the fact that Bob has a girlfriend and trying to make us think that he actually has like a new daughter. Like, this is ridiculous. And then we come back and and basically turns out Bob has a new daughter.
Yeah, so basically the girls all confront Bob. Candy's like, so you don't know who that is, Sheree? And she's like, no, I don't know. And she's like, but why'd you let her get into the picture? And she goes, I don't know. Bob introduced us to Candace. And so he's like, this is Candace, my daughter. And Sheree goes, oh, nice to meet you, daughter. Wow, we were married and everything. I didn't even know about that.
It was such a dick move, honestly. And Sheree handled it really well because, like, Sheree just sort of smiled, and Sheree was inside like this fucking asshole. Has a whole other daughter, never told me once, and now he brings it at our he tries to ambush me with her at our granddaughter sip and see, but she just smiles, goes, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you. Wow, this is wonderful." Because of course she's not going to get mad at Candace. Candace did nothing wrong.
She's like, so before we were married, Bob said he had 2 kids, and then we had 2 kids, and then 26 years later, come to find out he has another kid. And Kenya's like, yeah, I actually met Bob when he was cheating on Sheree before I knew Sheree, if you really want to know the truth.
Wow, I never would have thought Bob was a cheater until Kenya told us that anecdote. Now I really see him that way.
So Candace is like, oh, well, I've had a chance to be at some family events with Callie and Cairo, and they've been really good to me. So that's good. And Sheree's like, oh, awesome. Okay, so my kids didn't even tell me. That's great. And I just threw Cairo this giant party for his baby. So great.
Yeah, Bob, you're going to tell me the story? And Bob goes, Candace, meet Mommy Sheree. She's like, nice to finally meet you. Sheree's like, yes, it's nice to meet you too. That's great. That's a great twist. Love it.
Yeah, and Bob's like, take a picture, cheese. So then, let's see. So now Candy's telling the girls that that's Bob's daughter. And Sonya's like, damn, wow. It's my second time meeting Bob, and I think I've had enough times meeting Bob. that was enough.
So Bob comes ambling over, and Candy's like, yeah, we're talking about you. She goes, Bob, I've known you forever, and I didn't know you had another daughter. And he's like doing math, and he's like, yeah, 3 years younger than the oldest. And they're like, which oldest? He's like, my oldest.
And Kenya's like, well, why didn't Sheree know? And he goes, because we were on a need-to-know basis back then. She goes, need to know? You were married.
It's such garbage. He is such garbage. So, so Kenya's like, so at the baby reveal, you decide to reveal another baby? And he's like, well, I thought it was apropos. It's like, what?
So weird. So Candy's like, so did you know her back then? And did you know you had a kid this whole time? And he's like, well, she started coming around later in life. And Kandi says, but Sheree didn't know. He's like, okay, I didn't know this was going to be the Bob Inquisition. Wait till I bring the twins in. And they're like, yeah, that's not funny. He's like, ha, 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 ha. Later.
Just kidding. So then they take a group photo with Sheree, and Kandi tells Sheree about the conversation. And Sheree's like, yeah, well, he's been a piece of shit, and he's still a piece of shit. Cheese! And then they take a photo. And then we get the preview for next week and the season finale. And then, like, at the end of the preview, the Georgia Peach sort of gets, like, all fuzzy. And then Did you see this part or did you cut it off?
I don't know. Remind me.
So the Georgia peach gets all fuzzy, and then like Drew sits down. It's sort of like when
They picked up the cameras. They're going to do it on every show this year where they re-pick up the cameras to get
Are you
the
ready to talk
aftermath
about
of
Ralph?
Drew's.
You ready to talk about Ralph? And she goes, yes, I can talk about Ralph.
God, yeah. They're going to pick up the cameras again to get, because this looked like the season finale, right?
It is the season finale. They said it's the season finale.
Well, but this party looked like the season finale party because everybody was there. It was like the big shebang at the end, right? So I think they picked up cameras to get the Drew and Ralph affair on camera, which they're also going to do on Beverly Hills this year, which they just did on Vanderpump Rules this year. So Bravo's
it's like the Denise Richards thing. Also, remember when?
Oh
they were
yeah,
like, you ready to talk, Denise? Are you ready to talk about what happened?
Yeah, but I don't think they actually went back to shoot more of the season, right?
No,
because this stuff all happened after the cameras went down. So they're like, we have to bring production back and get another 2 weeks of shooting to get all the drama in.
I know. Yeah, this is sort of bottom of the barrel, Drew and Ralph. But making it to the finish line.
Yeah, there we go. Limping to the finish. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. We will talk to you next time. Have a great one.
Bye. Everyone.
Watch What Crappens would like to thank its premium sponsors.
Ain't no thing like Allison King.
Ashley Savoni, she don't take no baloney.
She's not just a Sheila, she's a Daniela. Itchels.
Aaron McNicholas.
She don't miss no trickolas.
She's never scary. It's the Green Fairy.
Jamie. She has no last namey.
Hava Nagila Weber. Know your worth with Jason Kurth.
Sip some scotch with Jessica Trotch.
She's a little bit loony. Junie. She's always supplying. It's Kelly Ryan.
Kristen the Piston Anderson.
You're never alone with Lacey Monteleone.
Let's give a kisserino to Lisa Lino. Megan Berg. You can't have a burger without the Berg. Ruru LaRue.
The Bay Area Betches.
And our super premium sponsors.
Somebody get us 10 cc's of Betsy MD.
We're taking the gold with Brenda Silva.
Let's get real with Caitlin O'Neill.
Don't get salty with Christine Pepper. Can't have a meal without the Emily Sides.
Nobody holds a candle to Jamie Kendall.
She's not harsh. She's Jill Hirsch.
My favorite Murdo, Karen McMurdo.
We love him madly. It's Kyle Pod Shadley.
Let's go on a bender with Lauren Fender. We want to hang with Liz Lang. The incredible edible Matthews sisters. Nancy Cease and Desisto.
Give him hell, Miss Noel.
She's the queen bee. It's Sarah Lemke.
Shannon, out of a cannon, Anthony. Let's take off with Tamla Plain.
She ain't no shrinking Violet Kuchar. We love you guys.
Hey, Prime members, you can listen to Watch What Crappens ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app today. Or you can listen ad-free with Wondery Plus in Apple Podcasts. Before you go, tell us about yourself by completing a short survey at